I was really hoping for some type of failure tiara, but apparently that's not in the cards for me. So sad about that. So I've narrowed our mistakes in Santa Barbara County to 3, and I say are coming from 2 different places. So for the first 3 or 4, depending on who you ask, years of our initiative, I was a participant at various levels, meaning leadership councils, I was on our action networks, and then also as a participating provider. And then July of this year, our department, the Center for Community Education, was elected to serve as the anchor or backbone organization after our local community foundation moved away from that role. So now I get a look at failure from both sides as a participant and then now as a leader of failure. So it's going well. For those of you who aren't close friends with Oprah or the Jolie Pitts, I wanted to give you a brief introduction to Santa Barbara. We have 400,000 people, 60,000 school-aged youth, and 20 school districts. We also have 1,959 nonprofits. You can imagine that all of the jockeying for funding and for access to students. I frequently have people come to me and say, okay, I got a grant to serve at-risk youth. Where are the at-risk youth? Great. So we're about 2 hours end to end, and our population is concentrated in 4 major areas. And since Strive can't be mean to us because we pay them, they have called us a hub and spokes model, which I think is a gentle way of saying, what the heck are you doing? So we have 5 different communities at various stages of collective impact, and we're held together loosely, very loosely at this point, by this countywide backbone, of which I am the proud leader. So we have 3 mistakes. The first one is what we like to call show me the money. Actually don't. So each of our 5 collaboratives started off with a different model. One was more of a community school model. We had 3 that kind of did promised neighborhood type efforts. And one, if I'm brutally honest, was kind of a funder's pet area. So interesting marriage of partnerships. Jeffrey Canada had just come and spoken to a big conference in our area, and everyone was very passionate about the Harlem Children's Zone, and rightfully so. The communities were promised a lot of money and a 10-year commitment from our funders. And after a very short period of time, it became apparent that we're larger than 10 blocks and that funders, can we say their interests shift from time to time? And several years in, we started to realize that millions of dollars over 10 years just isn't going to happen. And a few years into our process, one of our funders actually heard about Strive and brought the model back to our county. And for a while, they just kind of co-implemented the models, and they called it a hybrid model, which didn't really make any sense on the ground, and all of the agencies leading the effort felt like a massive bait and switch had occurred. The trouble was the funders, they made collective impact a part of a new proposal process, and they tied money into everything, into every aspect of collective impact. Don't do this. You may be tempted, just don't. It has been a very unique adventure to try and recover from. So we found that it's tough to move past that idea of once agencies think that collective impact is just another catchphrase to write into a grant and get a bunch of money, it's really difficult to move forward beyond that. And so we've been working on it for years, and we have a plan moving forward to move from Thrive as a source of dollars to Thrive as a partnership, a way of doing things that benefit youth. Our second mistake was that we focused on form and not value. So Santa Barbara has a ton of nonprofits, and we are used to various forms of collaboration and communication, and I would say, honestly, many of us have a fair amount of collaboration fatigue already. So a new initiative, yay. Anyone? Anyone? Yeah? Okay. So when we implemented the Strive framework, we didn't spend enough time focusing on what was fundamentally different about this approach. We spent a lot of time trying to construct this perfect leadership model. We had these beautiful diagrams, and then we did that at the county level. And then each of our 5 communities made beautiful diagrams, and they're just everywhere diagrams. And we just ended up kicking the can down the road on our big issue. Why is Thrive different? Why is Thrive useful? Why is Thrive worth my time? And how will it impact our students? We got lost in what we might do and who might get credit for it. while we really needed to focus on who we are and what our values are. Our new plan is very education-based, so we are working on making sure that all of the stakeholders understand the framework, they understand what it is and what it isn't, and then we're offering the opportunity to decide if they want to continue. And we feel that we have to give all of our folks the chance to recommit, to overcome that feeling of bait and switch midway through the game. So our third mistake is we thought we were communicating, and this we is not me. I will take that one off my plate. So initially we were run by a very magnanimous funders board, and as you can imagine, the funders board would convene people, which was great because people would show up because they all had grants. So they would come together, and all of the conversations that needed to occur occurred in the parking lot instead of at the table because no one was able to be honest with their funders. And what we started to find was that decisions were made in partial groups, and there was never any consensus gained around decisions if a decision was made. We have a strategic plan. I kid you not, in the middle of it, it has a pathway and it says sample across it, data needed. Really awkward to give that out to folks. So when the larger county bodies met, there was often this bizarre sort of show and tell, and there was advisory groups would meet and they would say, oh, when's our chance to advise? And they'd never have the opportunity, and so they quickly got very, very frustrated. And after one particularly epic countywide meeting, if you say Buellton Marriott in Santa Barbara, everyone knows what you mean. After this, the funders realized that the system that they had going just absolutely wasn't working. And in the words of one of the funders, he said, boom, people were dying to be honest with us. So I haven't seen the results of the survey, but I know if everyone wrote what I did, it wasn't pretty. So that was a key turning point for our effort. And after licking some wounds, the group admitted to some mistakes. They convened focused groups to address these issues that had arisen out of the feedback and from meeting with the advisory. And we've come back to the group with new choices to make as a group moving forward as a team. And we're seeing a lot of new energy around that decision. On a related note, and I've never understood this, but as a participant, I absolutely saw it. Collective impact strategies in our county were this closely guarded secret. Like, if we let them out, people might do them, and then who would take credit for that? So there was this access issue that we really dealt with. And as we've turned our corner, we focused on clear and transparent decision-making and equal access to data and to the great technical assistance from Strive. And we're seeing great results as after making that decision to open ourselves up to the community. Each of our 5 sites is doing amazing work around early childhood education, and they have been throughout all of this chaos. It's awesome. We have a new optimism and energy as our leadership group, and in this work, when you can stab off in any direction, our failures have at least allowed us to say, well, we're not going that way again, and we're tending to go the opposite. And I'm very, very pleased to represent Thrive Santa Barbara County as we fail forward.